Thanks for coming and seeing us. My name's Mark Jones. I'm the CEO and founder of Giant iTab. You may have seen some of our kit around the show running the Gumio app, and we do interactive experiences.
My name's Jim Young. I'm head of creative technology at Spark. We are a new generation of event technology provider. We do full service production, creative, digital, the full works. We're part of the Savile Group, and we're looking forward to having this session with you today.
Thanks very much. Okay, well, we can jump straight to the first question. I guess it's about what the session is, but is this all about the wider trend towards experience?
Okay.
Shall I keep going?
Go start if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're recognising with the events that we're involved in all over the world, there are certain patterns and similarities, and one of the ones that we're seeing very clearly is that events are becoming experiences. It's not just enough to put on an event. You really want to put on an event that delivers a great customer experience for the delegates, for the sponsors, for the speakers, for the exhibitors. And it's those experiences that give longer lasting memories, and that people take away. The richer the experience, the richer the benefit, and they take that away, and you'll see that you'll have more visitors next year because the ones who came already will share the word. Those that came already and had a great experience will want to come again and have that experience once again. So yeah, that's really a very, what I would call an overarching trend within our industry, that if you're an event planner, an event organizer, it's not just enough to build a stand and put people on it. You already have to think about how you're going to create a great experience for the people who have taken time out to come and see you. And and I'm sure my colleague next to me talking about production, every single element of their design will have that element built in. And when we launched Giant iTab years ago, we did it as a product, which was a giant smartphone. And that's now not a product anymore. When we're working with the likes of Facebook, and we're working with the likes of PwC and Nespresso in their stores, they're asking us to replicate that experience that everybody has on their smartphone. And it's that experience that we all love. That's why we're on our phones now even. So recreating that experience for us is a very simple formula, but we are recognizing that we are now becoming an experiential agency more than just a product supplier.
I think that's the key thing really, and bringing up experiential early on in the session is very important. As the lines get blurred and the convergence between marketing communications, events, experiences, and sort of event design come together, we are trying to leave an experience in the hearts of the people that are attending those events.
Yeah.
And even if that is something as simple as a conference, you want there to be an element that people take away with them. And I think as an AV provider as well, when you're a lot of our peers in the industry as well have very quickly got into the experiential side of things, because you have a skill in production, and then you can bring an experience to, whether that be an internal event or similar, because it's about leaving those memories through and having that stay with people, and obviously them sharing it on Instagram, and as soon as somebody shares it online, then it becomes an experience because it's externalized from that event. And I think that's key to the future of the innovation.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Absolutely. I mean, if I can just roll on from there as well, in terms of the experience, we're working with MindLab, who are part of Sussex University, and we're working with their neuropsychology department, because we really want to understand human experience and particularly touch, and I can come on to that later if we have time. But for now, what we're also recognizing from the research that they're doing and the research that we're doing with them, that we all like to have a shared experience as well as just a single. I mean, people say to me, you created a giant smartphone. Why? And the simple answer to that is because it turns a single device into a group experience. It creates an environment in which people can share. I mean, for example, if any of you are horror film fans, I bet a lot of you go to the cinema to watch the film because you like that experience of watching it with a group of people. Look at the roller coaster rides. You see people going in droves to go and do it with their friends. You very rarely see people going on their own to a roller coaster ride. They like to share that experience and all scream together as you go round the bend. And that movement away from singular people to shared experiences, people feeling part of a collective, is also another significant trend.
That is a really interesting point, though, because you can have an experiential environment where you are immersed and away from what's happening. So, like in an event like this, you can take somebody into a zone, with audio, video immersion. But the true experience comes when you experience that with others, and the shared experiential experience, which is, you know, it's a base thing, and to share that excitement with a human being. You know, like we've just done a project in the atrium of ASOS, inside their building. We basically put a huge ASOS package. It looks like they've had a box delivered.
Really?
But it's
Okay.
a huge LED cube, and basically it's all packaged up. It's even got a label on the roof, so it looks like they've just had a box delivered. But it's like, what is it, 10 meters by 20 meters long with complete LED inside. And basically everyone who works at ASOS is like, oh my God, we've got a package. And they walk inside, there's all the video stuff in there. And it's that, that's what they do every day, but you're giving them an experience that is similar to just their base level work, but it elevates it and they share it with their colleagues.
And it's great for them, and they'll take that home and they'll tell their friends, and it's a talking point at dinner at the Sunday.
Well, that's it.
And you know, it resonates and rolls out. There's a ripple effect. You know, I mean, particularly in terms of we're all companies and we all work for. You know, we're all trying to push our name and our brand. You know, word of mouth is still an extremely important factor within the marketing.
Yeah, and especially the fact that it doesn't have to be word of mouth between one person to another. You can share one picture
So easily
and then all
now.
of a sudden it can pop off, and it's like, you know, if it wasn't on Instagram, did it even happen? You know.
Yeah. You mentioned human and human behaviour, and that just reminds me of something else. You know, I mean, we are seeing a very clear polarisation within not just the industry but in the world, in which, you know, you get on a tube or a train and we're all completely immersed in our single mobile device, alien to everything that's going on around us. And the polar opposite of that is us and our industry and us here all being together, that need for human interaction and human engagement. So while you have on the one hand this completely immersive experience where I spend, if I had £1 for every time I told my kids to get off their bloody phone, you know, get off your phone, go and do something, go and play with your friends, go and do something different. So we as the industry, you know, and one of the reasons, you know, I mean, I think someone was telling me last night, we were having a drink with that, and they were saying something like the global events industry is going to be something like $1.2 trillion next year. 1.2 trillion. That's, you know, it's a growing business all over the world. It's a very massive growth sector. And the reason for that is while we're all polarized in part of our lives with these single devices, we all crave this need for human engagement and interaction. And the events industry is the perfect platform for that. And that's why I think we're all doing so well and business
It's almost
is
like
booming.
a golden oasis where you imagine that you're going to be there and you're going to interact with everybody, but then you still get to the point where everyone's just doing that. I mean, I guess that takes on to this question saying about, does some event technology get in the way of people interacting face to face? And it seriously can do. You know, sometimes the best event technology is no technology. It's our voice, it's our ears, it's how we interact with humans, you know. And I think to mix it up and to be creative with a proposal is to sometimes actually say, let's put these devices down, you know. Sometimes some people just see that as going backwards, but the most creative approach sometimes can be the simplest, or just doing something differently because it's expected that you're going to suggest to use a technology. Whereas actually to take time out of that, you know, digital wellness is a huge thing these days. Every device is having it baked in to tell you how long you've been using it for. And I think that's a key thing in an event, even though we do rely on it and it is a massive catalyst for the innovation. I think it's key that to understand where the importance and where the sort of detail lies, and to step away from that when it matters.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're a tech company, so I couldn't entirely agree with everything you said, but
yeah, but you know, take a walk outside.
I know
it.
Absolutely. I mean, you know,
Post some stuff on
it's a
Instagram.
tool to enhance an experience. It's
Exactly.
not the experience itself.
And I think that's the key. It's all about the outcomes, and a lot of people want technology, but they're not necessarily concerned with the sort of what then or what if, you know.
Yeah.
And when we're engaging with new clients, we always try and focus on the outcomes to find out that they're actually achieving something, instead of just saying, oh, you know, we've got 50 iPads or however many giant iTabs. It's about making that, either whether the stakeholder information or, you know, delegate feedback, and having those outcomes to improve the experience, whether that be to turn up the technology or to dial it back.
Great. I mean, that's a really interesting point. Also, how you measure that, because how do you measure people's emotive response to what you're doing? You know, there's qualitative, quantitative, and there's different ways of measuring, but it's really important. You know, it's very interesting.
I was having a
that you say
conversation
that.
with somebody yesterday about the one thing we can't actually measure effectively is face-to-face. You can't compare how face-to-face is against an app or a meeting platform. You can measure return on investment on everything else, almost other than human interaction.
Yep.
So it kind of gets forgotten because there isn't a metric that you can say how successful it was. Like even if you have a system where the badge, the badge knows that we've been chatting to each other for 10 minutes, it doesn't know. We could have been stood next to each other arguing for 10 minutes. We could have. That could be the end of it. But I think it's that's what's the really interesting part at the moment is as everything converges in to become experiential. People don't want to feel like they are just a case of a data stream or a tick in a box. And when you start to get into the interesting levels of like adoption rate versus data capture, do you propose an app that has every single bit of information about a person, and they look at it once, and then they don't give you any more actual data to use past that point, or do you have an anonymous environment that somebody could nip into once, give you all the key metrics you want to find out, but yet you don't know who they are, and it's like playing those two off against each other. Like are you trying to increase activation figures and to say that 25,000 people download this app, or are you using the app to then gather the information that you want to then to sort of power the next step?
And when it comes to experiences, of course, it's not a binary answer. It's not a switch on, switch off, yes, no, black, white. You're taking that human element, and you have to, as a human being, in some way, be able to measure that without a piece of paper or a device that says tick that box, don't tick that box.
Completely. And then the real challenge is designing those experiences for the next generation of attendees and delegates that are coming through. Whatever the next name's going to be, post-millennials, what is it that they're going to need? How are they going to want to react? Because we're coming to like meet people who have genuinely not used to making a phone call. So if you can't make a phone call, you're going to be able to go and network with somebody in an organic environment. When all you're used to doing is, even if you want to book a restaurant or a taxi or a takeaway, there's zero speech involved in it. So then, the actual human interaction is almost completely lost then, and everything's within a technological wrapper, which is fantastic. I'm a massive advocate for all that. Well,
I'm a bit old school. I like to speak to a person on the phone, I have to be honest.
Well, if I'm ordering food, an app every time, or a taxi, like if you travel to another country and you can't speak the language, then that opens up everything.
Absolutely.
That brings a sort of an equalness to the playing field, because everybody can take part. And I think that's what it's about now, is ensuring that every age of delegate, whether 60 or 16, and trying to have all that knowledge together, that's really fun, designing systems that will be able to handle that and also generate an output that's useful for the people who are taking part.
And of course that streamlines our experiences and gives us more free time to interact on a human level.
Well, that's it, because you speed it all up, and then people are actually getting more quality time to do the things they want to do.
Exactly. That's really important. Yeah, really important.
What else we got?
Need to get your predictions in place here. So we'll combine two of these questions here, basically. What do you guys think are the undiscovered trends, or what's going to be next, probably next year, and then over the next 5 years?
Wow. I've given some thought. I haven't thought about that. Next year, AI is still a big thing. It hasn't lost its momentum. I think, once things get a certain momentum, they pick up speed, and AI is certainly out there now. And it's picking up speed because a lot more people are recognising the potential. It's certainly a buzzword in our industry at the moment, and some of the stuff people are doing with AI is absolutely fantastic. The kids' games that you have on the phones, the projection, you can see the floors, the shopping centres. If you go to shopping malls in Dubai, we were there last month for GITEX for a show out there, and the shopping malls are just awash with it. It's just everywhere. And it's a very exciting. It's a great way to look at and absorb information, with a little brand dropped in there and a little experience here, and it's another way to communicate. And we're all looking for something new as well. And I think that innovation within the AI area is one that we're just going to see gathering more momentum than it is now. A lot of people think, it's kind of the bubble's going to burst, but I don't think it is. I think it's here to stay, and it's going to grow even more over the next few years.
One of the things about AI that I find funny is I think the actual term AI holds back the development of it. because there's nothing artificial about it, and it's almost not even about the intelligence. It's about machine learning. It's about access to information. It's about bespoke delivery so that every experience, even just a digital experience, is bespoke to the person that's visiting that. And there's almost nothing artificial about that at all. It's intended, it's planned, it's designed. And I think this whole thing of, robots taking over via our phones is kind of people, I think they're breaking it down into the actual application of AI and the ways in which people can use it. Because also there's even human ways to mix that in. You could have a digital assistant that then puts you through to somebody who can then assist you, or I think it always needs that kind of that break to it. I think AR is something that's probably going to be a huge thing coming as it continues to be more mainstream.
Yeah.
And I think there'll be a fair bit of almost like telepresence style video collaboration, but with AR involved as well. And I was chatting to a guy yesterday about holographic telepresence. I mean, the system that he was talking about sounded like a great idea, and also like it opens up for a live event, but that you don't watch the webcast at home. You have like hubs. So we could be doing this now. We'd be sat in a studio, and there could be like 5 different areas around here where people could sit, and they would then watch us, and we could still interact like that. And I think that's a kind of model that will increase. You have the live broadcasts that are going into cinemas now. They do the Royal Ballet or the theatre, all those sorts of broadcasts. And I think there's going to be a lot of that happening. We're talking to a lot of our clients about that at the moment. But the cinemas just need to up their game and get better connectivity in there to make it possible.
And then, on the theme of AI, so somebody's asked here, do you think AI chatbots will be key to conferences in the future and utilised more?
I think as the new millennials come on and the younger generation who it's second nature for, yes, absolutely. I'm sort of more in my sort of autumnal years, and I'm sort of a bit more old school. I like human interaction. So, a chatbot comes up on a website. Do I want a chatbot? No, I want to pick up a phone and talk to someone. That's just me. And I'm an older generation, but I think the younger generations, absolutely, yeah.
I think in time the search bar is just going to become a chatbot. The Google search bar already kind of knows what you're saying. You put one word in, you get 5 more. It's already there. And I think as it gets more popular, I think that's just how it's going to end up being. AI will be baked into almost everything because it wants to know what you're going to search for before you search for it. So therefore, it's already pulling the information through. And as that becomes more universal, like when they took away the button where you actually used to have to hit search, or there was a separate search bar, and then they took that away and there was just one thing at the top of a browser. That is then going to be, there's going to be one part there that's going to be search, AI, everything put together, I believe. And as that stops being like, oh no, the robots are going to get us, and it's just the information we have is almost at our fingertips before we've requested it. And if phones are doing it now, they think they know what app you want before you've even searched for it, and 9 times out of 10 it's absolutely correct. It knows you open that app at 6 o'clock, it knows you look at this one, and I've not been brave enough to set up screen time on my phone yet, because I really don't want to know.
No.
I can guess, I know I use it too much, and everybody does that. And maybe it'll be the point where your phone's like, hey man, it's time to go outside for a walk.
Do you think there's one thing that's going to be a must-have at every single conference?
Fast internet every time, for free for everybody.
Bingo.
Loads of it
Every time, bingo, yeah. I mean, actually, the Wi-Fi here is pretty good. It's not been too bad at all. But yeah, I mean, again, another example: Mobile World Congress in America. The Wi-Fi there was pretty poor. We had to buy hardwired internet, and the cost, it was like $1,400.
Yep.
For an internet connection in today's world, ever-connected world. It's just it hurts your wallet. It leaves a sort of slightly uncomfortable feeling. If you're an exhibitor and you're spending all the money and you want to spend your money on creating great experience for people, spend it on an internet connection.
So, where's the responsibility there? Is it with the venue? Is it with the organizer? Is it with the end client?
I think it has to be shared. I mean, you'd have to speak to, G-Force or whoever sets these things up. But, I find it very difficult when you've got, something like, this exhibit, well, probably not this one, but something like Convex, with, I don't know, something like 700 exhibitors, and they're charging, £1,000 each for the internet. That's £700,000. I mean, that just doesn't, the math doesn't work for me. So I think there is a responsibility. High internet.
In some markets,
absolutely.
it's holding back the growth of digital platforms because when you're trying to sell something through, you're selling a solution. Then on top of that, you're looking at $1,500 to $2,500 just to be able to have delegates to be able to access the platforms they want to.
Yep.
And for some of the online platforms where the engagement is taken there, it holds it back really. I mean, it's for exhibitions, people used to be quibbling over how many plugs they had so they could plug in their TVs, and now it's a case of is there enough bandwidth in an area? Because if you've got a really big exhibition, then even 4G is not going to cut it, because your phone's saying you've got full signal, but then you just can't do anything. But it's that mix of do people want to be immersed in where they are, or do they want to be immersed in elsewhere? And you can never get that right. There's always going to be that aspect of people either wanting to be connected to elsewhere or connected to the environment that's happening in front of them, and connectivity plays a huge part in that.
We get around that quite a bit, because my engineers and guys go on site at construction days, show build days, and setting up touchscreens and making sure they work, and they just tether their phone. And now with the network providers, the 3Gs, the O2s, the 3s, now that the cost of actual data is dropping significantly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I get something like 40 meg per month just ready to use, very simply, very cheaply. So actually, instead of buying an internet connection hardwired, I'll just tether my phone and away we go. But the problem is then when I go for lunch or I have a meeting and I need my phone, yeah. So it's not, but there are, I think maybe it's not the venues and the organisers, maybe it's the network providers, who have to try and drive that so their network's available inside at a cheaper price.
Okay, we've got one question that's just bubbled up to the top here. So, as an event manager, I struggle to push new technologies on limited budgets. What technologies do you have that are accessible to all?
Well, I obviously I'm an advocate of touch and touchscreens because that's my business. Touchscreens now are a very simple, effective way. I was at the airport with my daughter a couple of weeks ago, and we're standing there. There was an old lady went up to one of the big screens, and she's touching it. And it's like, if it's not touched nowadays, people think it's broken. And that's a really important way for people to engage with information. Not just advertising, branding, signage, but actually, you can go on the touchscreens here and you can find out the exhibitors and the speakers, and you can dig deeper and find, and you're in control of searching for the information that you need. And the cost of touchscreens nowadays has dropped dramatically, and they're very, very reliable. And going back to our work with Mindland and Dr. Lewis in the neuropsychology labs, the aspect of touch, the sense of touch is a very, very important one. The actual skin on the body is the biggest human organ of all that we have, our skin. And our skin is covered in millions and millions of receptors, particularly at the end of our finger. So, don't underestimate the power of touch. When we read something or we see something or we hear something, our brain processes it. When we touch something, it's an instant processing. You feel that. It's a much quicker processing. So for me, touch is really a major experience that you can give people. You can give them information and you can give them the experience of touch as a combined solution. And it comes back to the beginning of this conversation here. We're about delivering experiences, not technology. And that for me, so touch is definitely top of the tree for me.
I think when you're trying to, obviously in this budget-driven world, when you're trying to bring technology into an event, it's always really difficult because you kind of want to prove that it's necessary, but then the cost can be prohibitive. So we normally advise to do something quite simple to create a business case and to show that your attendees will actually take part anyway, because there's no point spending a fortune on something that people aren't going to use. So if you're trying to get some interaction involved, you can do something as simple as setting up a Gmail or a similar email account. You want Q&A for the day, get somebody to email in questions and then have somebody from your comms team sat there pasting them into slides, then you have a business case prove that people will interact on that level with you. And the next time you run your event, you can use maybe a free platform like Me2, and then build up that. But it's about doing it bit by bit, because I know so many event managers that have pleaded and pleaded and pleaded to have that essential bit of budget to make something happen, and then lo and behold, their delegates have come along and not used it at all, and then therefore the powers that be are never going to sign off that budget again, because you can't prove that what you've done then goes through. Even the humble text message, forget smartphones, just do SMS. Get somebody who can copy and paste from if they've got a smartphone, they can copy and paste all those into, notes, anything simple like that, and you can gather all that together. Or even you want people to make some engaging content in a breakout session, you could use Instagram stories. You can get any content from anywhere across the web. You can get video, you can put it together, you can overlay text, which as a software would have cost you, £600, even 36 months ago. You couldn't have done that. Now on a device you can do that. Even if you have to borrow 5 iPhones off people that work in the business, you can get them to use those, you can do some creative stuff with it, and then you create the example that it's worthwhile, instead of throwing a load of money at something and then being concerned that you're not going to get the adoption. Because in this app saturated world, it's, regardless of getting the sign off, if everyone logs in, looks at the home screen and then goes, all right, okay, cool, and then closes it, then you could have printed that on a piece of paper and given it to them. And it's that application and adoption, and it's like the application of applications is what I call it. There's a certain time to use them, and then certain times you just really shouldn't. And everyone's got a website. Just make a little extra page on your website, put some stuff on there, add a free comment box in, and you've got your own app in effect in a couple of hours.
Lovely stuff. We've run out of questions on the Q&A board. Is there anybody that wants to ask a question the old-fashioned way? We're going to run the microphone out to you.
We didn't answer the question on 5 years from now.
Okay, yeah. Let's go for it.
And for me, it's transportation. I mean, we all travel to events all over the world, and travel can be tiresome and long. And I think we're looking at stuff with Richard Branson at the moment. They're doing these super magnetic tubes, and I think the Middle East, they're looking at these super suction tubes going through from Riyadh to Abu Dhabi and they're all underground tubes that will send people, on a distance of 1,000 miles, in the course of a fraction of the time. So they're cutting travel time down. And that's really where I think, and of course being magnetic and ultrasonic, they are eco-friendly, so they're not creating gases and problems for the planet. So I think that shift toward eco-friendly ways of living, combined with the need for people to travel in more efficient manners, that's the 5 year for me.
I think it's a really interesting thing to discuss, because 5 years ago, everyone was sort of saying, events won't happen anymore. Everyone will be virtually going to places. It'll all be VC, Skype, hybrid experiences. Yet everybody is still, traveling to events. Large-scale exhibitions are still as popular as ever, and the event industry, according to Mintel, is one of the only industries that's actually growing year on year in the UK. Now that might be because events is just becoming everything, as we say, experiential marketing activation. Like music events seem to be bigger than ever. Yep. Festivals are absolutely huge, and I think it's those experiences and how the brands react with that makes it so exciting. And in 5 years' time, I mean, I've always thought there's going to be like a reversal on the technology aspect, and there'll be a bit of a sort of Puritan style response to things, but with still that basis of technology, because we're never going to lose the reliance on technology. But I think it's about the importance of it and where it enhances life and where it doesn't, and I think that's going to come soon. And I think events like this where people get together and the industry joins up and adds an extra element to it, and creates like a scene around it where companies partner up, education is shared, and I think it's fantastic that this is now CPD accredited as well. The event, to be able to come here and actually have official accreditation for coming and spending time here. I mean, to be a student and to come to an event like this and to be able to see a full cross section of what's happening and what all that everyone's up to, where the innovations are. I mean, it's an incredible resource, and I think the internet as a research tool is great, but you don't get to compare it all side by side, and no one's really come up with a online exhibition, as it were, because there's always an affiliation or like a bias towards a certain partnership that means you don't get all that mixed together. And the travel, the carbon footprint of the events industry is huge, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, because you can't beat that face-to-face aspect. No. And when you've got a good team and you want them in a certain place, you're going to fly them out there, because you only get one chance. And Kevin McLaughlin, you missed it, buddy.
Yeah, good old Kev.
So we're just out of time, but one last thing. So there's not much time left of the show. If everybody hasn't been around everywhere so far, what's the one coolest, newest thing that you hadn't seen before that you've seen here that people should go and see before it closes?
Haven't seen before. I like the igloos, the inflatable meeting rooms from Evolution Dome. I think they're brilliant. Very, very cool. And you can light them and colour them and create really nice, rich, warm environments in which you can discuss. And so for me, they're cool, really cool.
I'm going to be a bit biased here and say you should go to the Experience Zone and check out all the really cool social event stuff that's going on there. We've got a vending machine there where you can play Space Spark Invaders and win some stuff, and there's also a few others around there. I think they're a really interesting activation, especially for exhibitions like this. To be able to interact with people without a person there, I think is absolutely incredible, and especially an experiential experience where you can actually film. Like there's one round there that's got a camera on it, and it basically wants you to blow a kiss at it. And I was stood there waiting to speak to someone yesterday, and I didn't even realise that he's literally staring right at me, and it's still, go on then, blow me a kiss, blow me a kiss. This guy walks past me, I'm trying to be all serious, waiting to chat to someone, and this guy's like, the machine wants you to kiss it, and I just looked, and there's all these people behind me, and I'm like, and I just had to do it. It's like, mwah. But I think stuff like that's great. You know, when marketing really is, you know, instead of it just being purely for the sake of an advert, you know, there is a fun aspect to it, and there's a hook to it, you know, and you get something out of it at the end of the day. There's nothing better than getting a freebie and having a laugh, and I think those sorts of applications are really, really cool.
Thanks both. So that's the end of the session. Thanks very much for joining us, and thank you to Jim and to Mark.
Thank you.
Cheers.